guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Believe it or not, 90% of this video is going to be fun because I love when you watch the intersectionality start breaking down and it all falling apart. It's a snake that's going to eat its own tail, bite by bite, until eventually it consumes itself. And I got a couple of videos that went viral today, or yesterday, I guess I should say, and they're just ridiculous. But these are the people that are screaming that men are bad and they hate you online. And then when you start looking into them, you realize they're really sad, unhappy people. But a lot of the responses to these videos online is people getting very angry and very upset instead of being laughed at and being ridiculed and being mocked, which is really what we should be doing. And I want to share this so that as we continue forward and this war on masculinity and men and all the frustration and anger may build in you, understand it is because they hate themselves very, very much. They're very unhappy, and they want to spread that like poison. And you should not partake of it, and you just need to sit back, relax, and enjoy the decline. Don't forget, tonight is Saturday when I'm posting both these movies. Every Saturday we do movie nights over at betterbachelor.locals.com. It's for members. It's free. All you have to do is sign up to become a member over there. I turn on the closed captions because I end up talking over 90% of the movies, and we joke and share memes and talk about various topics, and I drink until the point where I don't remember my own name. Tonight's movies are Army of Darkness and Beverly Hills Cop, so I hope you join me over there. And no, you don't get to really see enough of the movie where I have to worry about copyright and all that stuff, but we just have a good time. And we get about 200 people that join us over there every Saturday night. It starts at 8 o'clock my time, and there's a link on the website to show what that time is in your time zone. All right, so first video here. This is a very angry, young, frustrated young lady who's more than likely just broken up with a boyfriend that was white and probably some Chad that treated her very badly, and now she's angry at white people apparently. So we'll just play this, and of course she's got the colored hair, so it's a warning. That's a bad warning.
And this is what happens when you learn history written by white people who paint themselves as white saviors because white supremacy tells them they're the good guys. Korea's biggest heartbreak is our history of being torn apart into two separate countries for white people's fight for world domination.
Let me just pause it there. Actually, was that the whole thing? Yeah, that was the whole thing. I was going to pause it. She is right. I mean, had Japan not entered World War II, then probably that fight wouldn't have happened. But yes, the United States was in charge of the lower half of Korea, and the northern was done by the Soviets. We know how that turned out. So somebody posted and said, a woman actually, and said, "Hey, why do you keep saying white like that? Like that's kind of," she said, "Can you say white properly? It's so annoying." And of course, this woman has to have a response. I'm not going to play the whole thing through because you kind of get the idea of the previous one, but this does not look like the voice or the face of a sane person.
Speak is tone policing, and that's a behavior that's very common among white women. You may have not intended that, but there are many white women who act exactly.
So now you've got the women fighting amongst themselves. This is what happens when you get into identity politics. At some point, it breaks down. Here's the irony. Here's the irony of all of this. They say we want everything to be groups of people. We need to identify people as a group. And somebody will say, "Well, okay, I don't identify with the LG and B community. I'm more of a T." And then somebody says, "Well, I'm more of a two-spirit. Well, I'm more of this, I'm more of that." And before you know it, that's why we call them the alphabet group, because everybody keeps breaking the group up into smaller and smaller and smaller factions. What's at the end of that breakdown? The individual. It all comes back down to the individual. And what is that? That's kind of the way we've been saying that things work the best for, well, at least for a couple hundred years here in the United States. So this girl is going on her mad tirade, and people are now arguing and fighting over it instead of just sitting back and watching it break down. It's the same thing with these gentlemen here that are bowing down to these ladies over the fact that they're men, and they've, for unknown amount of time, they have held women down and held them back. And you can see all the women here putting their hands over their chests and crying and appreciating the men, showing their fealty to these women. Meanwhile, their faces are extremely wet, but their panties are completely dry. And this will not get any of these men anywhere. And what happens when this fails? Eventually, the men will either become angry incels, or they'll become, and I don't like the word incel, but I don't like it when it's used to describe men that are unfortunate enough not to be able to be successful with women. In this case, though, it holds true. Why? Because these guys are losers. These guys are willing to give up their masculinity, their strength, their power, their sovereignty, their stoicism, just to bow to the almighty Punani, hoping that this will ingratiate them with these women enough to get a piece. It will not. And these men are going to become bitter and angry, just like this woman is bitter and angry, just like the woman that she's talking to is bitter and angry, just like all the people over on Twitter that are yelling and arguing and fighting over this stuff are becoming angry. They're consuming the hate that these people have, and then they're internalizing it. And as crazy as things are going to get over the next couple of months and years and things to come, you better learn to let this shed off you like water off a duck's back. You're going to have to let it go, because otherwise you're going to get dragged down into the anger and the frustration, and that's what they want. See, when you're thinking emotionally, then you're like, okay, I hate feminists, I hate women, and then I hate this, and I hate this, and I hate this group. And before you know it, you stop paying attention to who you really should be hating, which is the news media, which is these idiots writing these stupid articles, which is the politicians that are dragging us into the grave as they enrich themselves. That's who you need to keep the eye on. In the meantime, you just need to relax about it and enjoy life. Here's another clip I have. This is about an interview going around saying, what's good about white straight men?
What's a straight white man good for?
Straight white men?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
What are straight white men good for?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know.
And now, obviously, he's not straight, but here is a white man. And he's saying, I don't know. Oh, I don't know what they're good for. Again, kind of throwing his own brethren under the bus, so to speak.
Do you think straight white men are important?
No.
And she's with a boyfriend, I assume. She's with a guy. And he doesn't even stand up for himself. What does he say?
We're utter fucking trash.
We're trash. Now, of course, he is ginger, so he has no soul. But look at the woman he's with. And she finds this funny, to emasculate him. Do you think she's attracted to him? Do you think she lusts for him or yearns for him? Or is she just like, I am so unattractive, but I'll use him for his money and his resources? I guarantee you that's what it is.
We're utter fucking trash.
What are straight white men good for?
Being rude and making you feel uncomfortable.
Do you think they're important?
No.
So what would you say they're good for?
I don't know.
What do you think they're good for in society?
If they give them their bank card, that's pretty good.
What did I do? I just said it. I called it. I didn't even watch this all the way through. I called it. A bank card. Resources. That's all they're good for.
Do you think that the system is against anyone who isn't a straight white male?
I mean, I would say it's like a system based on like, heteronormative hegemony and like binary system.
What's a
All he did is regurgitate the lines. That's all he did. So when people say, why don't men hold the doors open anymore for women? Why don't men help women? Why don't men rescue women? Why don't men save women? Why don't men want to, take up arms and defend their country? Why don't men want to get married anymore? Why don't men want to have children anymore? Why don't men XYZ? This is why. You've told us. We're trash. Throw out the trash. That's what you do with trash. You throw it out. Okay. I'm all right with that. This is why men need to realign their mentality into being happy alone, being happy with other like-minded men. You know, it's so easy to get in a dark place as a guy, and thank God for the internet for this, I'll tell you that. It's so easy to get into a dark place as a guy feeling that you're doing something wrong. Like, why do I always feel like I'm trash? Why do I get treated so poorly by women, by men, by society? Why can't I get a job? Why can't whatever? This is your answer. And instead of feeling like you're an outsider, understand these people are the outsiders. These people are the ones that are unhappy. I mean, look at the people that are involved in this. You've got this guy with this person with the big earlobes, the shaved head, very effeminate. You've got, Captain Ginger over here and a woman that is easily 100 pounds overweight. Neither one is very attractive. You've got this woman here. She just looks like resting bitch face, like she's very unhappy. You look at these two. This woman, well, she's Parisian, so that tells you, well, she's at least French. They surrender when a cloud flies overhead, so that tells you everything you need to know about them. And you look at this woman. And, I see several rings on her fingers, but I don't see an engagement ring. It's hard to tell if she's married or not. Don't drink their poison. Don't drink their hate. This is what they do. This is what they rely upon. I'm going to show you one last video, and then I'm going to do a summary that'll hopefully make you feel a little better for this Saturday afternoon. This is a video, and you've got a woman here sitting on a bench and a young man. Here, I'll give you the summation. The gentleman, well, actually, I guess we don't really need the audio for this, so let me mute this. You don't really need the audio. He says something about threatening to slap her, and she says, "You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that," thinking that because she's surrounded by a group of other people, that obviously this young man is not going to reel back and slap her, and bang, he slaps her and knocks her right out. Now, the problem with this is, yes, these young men are bad people. And yes, their skin is black. The two don't necessarily have to correlate. But because there are so many videos right now circulating of people, especially young black males, fighting, robbing, and there are women as well doing this. I don't want to just say that. Because of this, why is what we see happening? Because there's a lot more happening here in this video that I think most people realize. Now, this young man goes on to continue and laugh and be cocky and saying bad things and insulting her. But there's a lot more that's going on here. And of course, they get right up in her face and show her knocked out. When you allow minorities to live by different rules than everybody else, and they not get prosecuted because that's deemed as racist or bad, they get emboldened because they're not held by the same laws that the rest of society is. So you will see more of this. Why do they let this continue? Because they want you to hate each other. They want white people to see this and say, these young black men are bad people. I mean, these particular ones are. But when you see enough of it, it may instill fear. It may instill anger. It may instill hate. And that is what they want. Because when you're angry at everybody else, you're not angry at the people that are actually causing the problem. As a matter of fact, a lot of people buy into it and end up voting for the people that are making this hate spread. Something else that's really key here is now you've got a woman. Now, I don't know how many of these young punks are there giving people a hard time, but now you've got a woman that was just knocked out cold. And when this happens, I want you to see the reaction of everybody around her. Everybody. Now, most of them are female, but there are what looks to be a couple of guys back here in the back. What is the reaction? Are there gasps? Are there people jumping up to defend her? Nothing. No one. And now this looks like a young man here. in the red and another one in the red. They didn't even flinch. They don't move. They just watched it happen. Matter of fact, many of them didn't shout out. Why? Why do they not come to the aid of a woman that was just knocked out cold? Because if they do, they're afraid. They're afraid they might get hurt. They're afraid they might get a blade in their side. They're afraid that they may be called racist. They're afraid of what society may do to them if they come and defend the woman. And then with all this hate and with all these groups hating on each other, and what happens? The politicians and the ne'er-do-wells, the oligarchy, will come in and say, we need to do more to stop this. Vote for us, and we will stop all the hate. And in the meantime, they're stoking the hate. They're allowing bad people to get out of jail easier, lower sentences. They're allowing women to do things to men. They're allowing white men to get angry because they're not getting job offers. They're allowing minorities to do bad things to other people. And what this does is this sows dissent. And instead of seeing this and getting angry at any particular group, the key is to get angry at the people doing this, but not all people in their group. And also understand that when you look at the statistics for some of these communities, things used to be a lot better for them. But because of the way that the votes have gone and the way that they're, rarely given opportunities only at the end of life, when a person's 30, we'll give you a job you don't really deserve. That's doing them a disservice, because ultimately they're taking a skilled job from somebody else and they don't have the skills to do the job. And so you're going to start seeing things like more trains get derailed, more power companies have problems, more jets landing and almost hitting each other, more power outages, more water treatment plants having problems. If they really cared about, people in this situation, they would say, hey, let's get rid of this toxic culture and let's keep dads in the family. And let's get these younger people educations, real educations. There was a story I read the other day where in Baltimore, 0%, zero students were passing basic math exams in these minority schools. And then when they graduate and you just give them a job that they're not qualified for, the company suffers, the public suffers, that person suffers, because they're really not qualified. You're basically just giving them a universal income instead of going to the root of the problem and helping these people become successful. And I have an example of that, and this is where I'll leave it today. And this is not black pill stuff, guys. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel good about things, because understand they're doing this because you're a threat. Because they want to keep breaking down society so they can remain in power. And the more that you shake the hand of your neighbor and appreciate each other for all the differences, men, women, black, rainbow colored, white, yellow, whatever, the more that you get along and say, no, you're not going to suck us into this game. I'll be angry at the person committing the crime, but not any groups. We don't do that. And when I first started this channel, I got a lot of hate from a lot of guys because they said, hey, you're just a blue-pilled simp because you won't call women out for this, or you don't hate this. No, I'm not going to hate anybody universally. That's what gets us into these problems in the first place. You have to dislike and you have to push back against individuals or groups of individuals that have common, problems like feminists and things like that. I'm going to leave it with this. This is a little write-up on Reddit in the subgroup anti-work. These are the people that hate you. These are the people that want to see everything collapse. They think they're smart. They think they know better. They're the ones that want socialism over capitalism. They've got the world figured out. Look how unhappy this person is just doing the simplest of things. This person says, I had a mental breakdown at work, got written up twice for it. Now I only get paid for 1 day of work this week. I am a full-time employee. I work 40 hours a week, and they're only getting paid for one day of work. Today I had a mental breakdown from all the stress because I'm not used to being a full-time employee. So just working 40 hours a week is mentally breaking down this young person. I was written up twice, and then the boss literally said, stop bitching and get back to work. I had to chop 2 20-gallon buckets of carrots by hand, and I was not prepared for that. My normal load is 1 bucket. Now, chopping carrots does not take any brain power, barely enough to keep from cutting your finger. And a 20-gallon pail is a decent sized pail. I would say that's, pretty good construction pail. If that is the limit of capacity you have for work and then you tap out, I can tell you, I was doing KP, kitchen patrol, in the military. We had to peel hundreds, thousands of potatoes. Sometimes you would do that for hours. As a matter of fact, they used to punish people in the military that goofed up by peeling potatoes. And this kid, getting probably paid at least minimum wage or better, is crying because it's too stressful to chop carrots for a while. They continue on. That was the first write-up because they were bitching about having 2 pails of carrots to cut. Then I took a break, which she did not approve of, and wrote me up again for taking time to recover. So this person had to recover from the trauma of having to chop a bucket of carrots at their job for money. Now this week, I'm literally only getting 1 day's worth of pay, and I just think it's time to turn in my 2 weeks. My mental health is probably more valuable than this job is. What do managers expect? I'm not a robot. Should I put in my 2 weeks? This is why I say to you guys out there that are willing to work hard, to put in the time, to put in the effort, you're going to be fine. Yeah, we're going to probably come up on some hard times, but you're going to be fine because these kids will go back home and live with mommy and daddy, or they'll live in a little commune of 8 of them living in 2 bedrooms while they all sleep with each other and share, STIs so they can pay for their rent. In the meantime, if you're willing to humble yourself and hustle and work hard, you'll be fine. When I got out of the military, I can tell you what I didn't want to do is wash dishes for a living. I'll tell you what I did do so I could make my car payment. I washed dishes for a living. Now, eventually, after doing that for a little while, I worked my way up to line cook. My money doubled, my income doubled, and I wasn't in the dishes anymore. And I kept doing that while the whole time through looking for another job that I actually really wanted to do. But I still ended up doing that for probably 6 or 8 months. These young people today are broken. They're in horrible places. As the one girl in the first part of the video would say. They're not going to make it. They're going to either go on a rampage, or they're going to self-delete, or they're going to try to tap out, and they're going to keep voting the wrong way. But we can't allow ourselves to get in the same place that they are, where we just are angry and bitter and hateful against all other groups. We can't do that. And it's going to be tempting because a lot of times I see these videos of these young punks, and it's both male, female, white, black, whatever, doesn't matter. I see these videos of these young people treating older people very poorly, and the older people are not willing to strike back or fight back because of fear of ramifications from the law, because they'll be painted in a certain light or they'll be told they're a certain thing. And that just emboldens the bad people, and it makes the good people quietly shrink out of society. And that's what they want to do. Now, I don't think you can step right up and fight. I mean, you do need to defend yourself. I'm not saying to be a baby about it. But it does mean that you're going to have to realign your expectations. We are in conflict. This is our war. Don't kid yourself. We are at war. But it's not against the normal groups that you think it would be against, and it's not using the old-fashioned tactics of guerrilla warfare or climbing into a trench. It's going to be how we navigate through society. If we can keep our societies whole, if we break down along political or class or some other racial lines, we have to push back against that. We have to continue to love our fellow man and woman of any nationality, of any race, so long as they are reasonable and are adult enough to be able to sit down and have a discussion about what we do. Now, does that mean that we probably have to leave people like this young lady behind and these fellas behind and these people behind? Yeah, they're going to be a casualty. They're just going to be lost. But it doesn't mean the rest of us can't come out okay. And even if society as a whole really breaks down and struggles, it doesn't mean you as an individual, you as men, you as strong, stoic, open-minded guys won't do okay. Some way, shape, or form, you're going to have to make it. And maybe that means a zillion, a zillion of you, a couple hundred of you, get together in certain areas and pool all your money and end up buying, 10 acres, 20 acres and start farming and putting up a big, steel building that you can insulate and put 3-4 shower stalls and 3-4 toilets in there and bunk beds and grow your own food. I don't know how far it goes. I don't know the answer to this stuff, but I'll tell you, you got to stay open-minded right now. This is going to be a very strange and very unique time in the world's history where the governments are literally trying to make citizens hate each other for power play. And you can't fall into that. Don't get sucked in. That's all I'm saying. Guys, again, join me for movie night tonight. We'll have a couple of fun movies. I hope you join me over there. You can become a supporter over there. It's like $4 a month if you subscribe for a year, which is $50, so it's about $4 a month. Or it's $5 a month if you want to come over, support my work, get access to all the content. I would appreciate it if you did. We'll see you in the next one.